Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Insights from a Headhunter LinkedIn Live. So, today we have a guest with us. We have Varshaa, Raturi, Thapliyal. I'm so happy to have you on our show. Welcome.
Thank you, Tina. Thanks for having me on. I have been attending your lives in the comments, and it's great to be here live today.
I'm so happy that we finally can do this live together because almost due to the weather we couldn't do it, but luckily the weather has changed and we have the opportunity to speak.
That's true, and it got a lot better today morning. Otherwise, I was still in doubts, but nevertheless, touch wood, we're here.
Yes. Uh, So tell me a little bit about your background. You have worked in the corporate world, and now you work as a military resume writer.
So I worked in the corporates and for over a decade. And because my husband serves the Indian Army, and we move places very frequently, like every 2 years and so on. And finding a place to work every 2 years became a little difficult. So I thought, what is it that I can do from home? So I started looking at avenues, and I was always a writer at heart. So that's what I started with, and I did a lot of content writing. From there, I switched to resume writing because I felt that I could do something for the military community. Because all the guests that we would have at home, they would ask me that, how is the corporate environment? And if we were to ever leave the military life, will we get any job in the corporate sector? And how do we present our experience? These are some questions that I thought I am somebody that I have, a taste of both the backgrounds, and I can do something about it. So I started with resume writing, and it's been over a decade that I've been writing, and about 8 years that I've been primarily working on military resumes, and it gives me pride that I'm somebody who's able to, turn things around for the veterans, because that is a space that is really untapped, and a lot of jargon, a lot of other things that you know. Push back these experiences that corporate people don't understand. So I'm happy that I'm able to do some justice to that experience.
Yes, and I think it's so important, this conversation. So, career transitions, it doesn't matter if you're going from public servant to the private corporations, or if you're changing the industry, there are always transferable skills. But before we dive into them, I also wanted to say that you are one of the LinkedIn's top voices.
Thank you.
Tell
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
me about that as well.
Well, to be honest, all those people who are targeting the top voice don't do that. You just continue doing what you're supposed to do, what you're passionate about, putting content on LinkedIn and everything that you want to do on LinkedIn. Continue doing that. Forget the followers. I got the badge when I had about hardly 2,500 followers. So that's the follower count actually doesn't matter. What matters is how are you making that difference from your content. So that's what I did. I focused on the content, focused on what is my content trying to do on the platform. And as much as I got feedback from the transitioning veterans, LinkedIn also recognized that. So as long as you know that you're making a difference, continue to do that and you'll be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really about the quality, and that's how we got to know each other as well, through the conversations, and really about this subject matter. And it's not, like I said, who has the most followers. That's important. It's really the quality of the content that you put out. So let us start with the 5 tips about how to transition your career.
Sure. The first tip that I always say is that focus on your transferable skills,
Mm.
because everybody, it's easier to find people who have experience in the same setup, but when you transition from a different function or different industry to a totally different industry, you don't have relevant experience, but you do have transferable skills. You might not have done the same kind of work in a similar setup, but you might have, you think of situations where have where you've applied your skills, depending on what are you targeting. So your target becomes important, and what is your wherever you're applying, what skills are they looking at? Do you have those skills in you, and wherever you apply those skills? So highlighting your transferable skills on the resume becomes really important as a career changer.
And what would be examples of transferable skills?
Like, if you're looking at something which needs people who are doing who are good at change management, and there
Mm.
is something that you've done in the current setup which touches upon change management, give those examples. So whatever you write in the resume, recruiters will ask you questions from that. So if you write anything that brings out this aspect that you've done change management, it'll be easier for you to answer during the interview. So it's about what skills the recruiters are looking at, and how have you applied that in your current position is what you have to highlight that in the resume. One example is change management. Otherwise, if you look at overall skills for the role that you're targeting, you
Yeah.
can Google for applicable skills also if you don't find it in the job description, and then find examples around how have you applied those, how have you applied those skills in your current position, appointment, experience.
Yeah, so those skills are always in the job description, in what they are looking for, what you will be working with. So they can use different words as like synonyms. So it's really important that that you can make the shift, that you can do the match. That actually you use a different word, but it's the content is the same in the job.
And
Yeah.
it reminds me of industry jargon. Every industry has its own jargon. So it's important to talk in the language that everybody understands.
Oh yes, and
That is one important shift.
and also when it comes to abbreviations, especially in the job description, but also in the resumes, if you're using abbreviation, at least the first time you have to write out the full word or sentence, so that in the future you can just use the abbreviation, because sometimes the same abbreviation, depending on the industry, or if it's in marketing or any other type of context, it means a different thing. So we want to know that we're talking about the same thing.
Correct. And sometimes it's about awareness. Also, me as a recruiter, if I'm not aware of a abbreviation, I'll have to Google it. So why make it difficult for the other person? Might as well write it, in full the first time. Write the short form in brackets, and next time you can repeat those short forms. So make it. I always say, whether it's transitioning or a normal resume, make it easier for the reader to understand.
And sometimes it's not only industry jargon, but also internal company one, that you use it all the time with everyone in your own company, so you think the whole world understands it, but actually it's not. It's only inside your own company, and if you're recruiting people from outside, they need to understand. Otherwise they might even not even apply to the job, because they don't understand. They think I don't have that skill, but it's just a miscommunication that's easily avoided.
That's true. And don't even mention military jargons.
And what is the number two?
Yeah, the number two is that always write for the reader. So what you have to do is every time you apply, tweak your resume a little bit, because every time you apply, the reader is going to change. You're applying for one position, the reader is going to be different. You're applying for another position, the reader is going to be different. The job description can differ. So it takes just about a few minutes to go through those job descriptions and see that what they're asking is that highlighted in your resume. So I'm not saying you do a copy paste from the job description. That's the worst strategy ever. But as a just take away from the job description, that what are the recruiters, the employer looking at, and tweak that into your resume to make sure that you're presenting a resume in the manner that they want to see it. Because I might write anything and everything in the resume. Like I always say, it's not a farmhouse pizza that has all the veggies. No, it has to be tailor made for the person who's reading it. What are they looking at? That's what you present in the resume, and skip information that's not important for that particular role, and especially for career changers, because your experience is vastly different from where you're applying. So it's important to stay relevant in line with what they're asking, and that you can only do if you've read the job description well.
Yeah, and when it comes to having different types of resumes, what we mean is if you're applying for a business analyst position or a pricing manager position, or like if you can do those two different jobs, so for every different company, you don't have to change your resume, but just
Hmm.
the job title, what you're looking for. So have a couple of those for the different jobs. But
So,
you don't have to uh, customer customize every CV for every company. That's why there are cover letters.
hmm. And you can also do that. An easy tip to do that is create a master resume for yourself with all the important details that you have in your mind. And from there, you can take out important information depending on where you want to apply. So if you're applying for a business analyst position, not that you'll have to create, business and 5 resumes for just a business analyst. No, you just have to tweak a little bit in the resume and make it ready for that particular position. And if the roles are totally different, that one is a business analyst and one is a project manager, then probably you'll have to work out two focused resumes. But yeah,
Yeah.
every time you apply, just see that what are they asking and build that into your resume.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, I really liked your what you said. It's not a pizza with all the best
Yes.
toppings. It's a marketing document to get you invited to a job interview. So uh, you want to make it as attractive as possible, so that you would be having conversation with the recruiter. Let us
That's true.
jump us to number three.
The number 3 that I have is that highlight the relevant courses, certification, any upskilling that you've done in the direction that you want to take. What this does is that you don't have relevant experience, so to say, but you're still working towards where you want to get. And with transferable skills and an upgraded skill, it is always better to find a candidate who has both, because then it says that you're not just interested, but you're also working in that direction to get better at what you're going to try later. And it just shows that learning capacity that you have, the learning drive that you have, and it's always better if you've done something like that. I'll say that highlight that in your resume.
Oh, definitely. And companies like to invest in people who invest in themselves. So one of the best things is to take a course if you want to go to a different like sustainability area. Like take the course, and you get to meet new people, network, maybe in a new country as well. If you want to start somewhere, if you have a course, local course, it really makes you stand out with that course. Yeah.
It's true. Can't get better to hear this from a headhunter.
Oh yes. Because sometimes uh, the digital part, like digital marketing now, if you say that I'm interested in digital marketing, yeah, but like show me instead of empty talk. So if you have taken a course and if you have done a business case or practiced, even if it's on a hobby scale, but at least you're capable of doing it, and then you can do it in your work as well. So that's really a plus.
Exactly. And the fourth one that I have is that highlight your relevant experience, that that you feel that something that you've done in your previous experience applies here. Highlight that. Second, if you've done any projects related to where you want to get, highlight that, because instead of highlighting other pointers that might not apply for this particular position, go back and think where all have you applied the transferable skills in those projects, in that little work that you've done. Highlight that experience as part, whether you write as an appointment or you write a bullet point, but do highlight all that you've done in your previous experience that can help you here, instead
Yeah.
of going through the career history.
And sometimes I have to tell those things that you can take that experience away. And if it's something that was in the beginning of the career and the person is really proud of it, but it's not a relevant achievement 15 years later in your career, and then what they call that you just have to be hard and take those away and move on. It's difficult for us to do it with our own experiences, but sometimes we just have to, in order to highlight the relevant ones, you have to take something out, even if you're so proud of it.
That's true, and that's why it makes sense. I'm sorry to cut you short.
No, go ahead.
And that's why it makes sense to get it written by somebody else or else reviewed by somebody else, so that whatever you have in there, somebody else will be able to tell you whether it's needed there or it needs to be, edited, and there are other things that should be added.
Yes, external eyes are so important to get feedback. Not only about that, but also that you don't have any grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes, because
That's
it's
true.
so easy. Yeah, we don't see our own mistakes. Before we go to the fifth one, I wanted to check in with people who have joined us and with questions. So if you have any questions, write them in the comments. So, we have Jeff Young here. Greetings to two of my favorite LinkedIn ladies, Tiina with 2 eyes and Varshaa with 3 A's. Namaste. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being here.
Thanks, Jeff. 70% of LinkedIn that I know today is owing to my teacher, Jeff Young.
Always follow him on LinkedIn. And we also have Sebastian Ong from Switzerland joining us. Hi, Zeb. So great that you could join us. We have Ben Lopez joining us. Hello. And we have Craig Allen joining us from Scotland. Delighted to be here for 2 leading lights. Great to see you, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us. And Seb is saying, giving the veterans a second chance is a huge thing. Great work there. It is really, because sometimes we need a helping hand to transition to a new career, and people who have given so much. It's time for us to help them as well. So
That's exactly why I do what I do.
Exactly.
Shruti.
Thank you. We have also Shruti here, eagerly waiting for this one. Thank you. We have Naresh Kumar. I'm glad to be here to see conversation with 2 brilliant ladies. Thank you. And we have also Gillian Whitney joining us from Las Vegas. Hello, ladies. So lovely to see you both. Thank you for joining us. And soon it's Gillian and Friends LinkedIn Live as well. So later, tune into her LinkedIn Live. Seb has a question. What are the common challenges that veterans face when they transition out of service?
The first challenge that comes to my mind is, how do I translate my military experience for a corporate professional? Because the terminology is absolutely different.
Mm.
And the best way to do is come out of this confusion is to speak with people. The network that we say is your gold. So speak with people who are already there where you want to get, and they'll be the people who can give you best guidance in terms of how does your experience translate, what is it that you should be doing, if there is any upskilling that you can do, and if that is the organization that you're targeting, then what are the employers looking at in a resume. So this is one challenge, and the second thing that I mostly come across, two more things. One is the military jargon. So understand that how do the jargon translate into corporate environment. Do that like a serious exercise. And last but not the least, understand that what format is current, and how should you be presenting your resume, because the what I come across is the outdated, most outdated kind of formats is what the veterans are using, because there is a lack of awareness. So when you're transitioning, do these three steps to come out as so that your resume comes out as a current in the current format and the way that corporates would love to read. At least that's the basic problem that they face.
And I think it's also about the mindset that you shift, that you put the military career behind you. You have done it, you're proud of it, but now it's a new challenge. So you take your uniform off, and with that also the way you talk to people, that in corporate world it's not that hierarchical, for example, depending on the company culture. And if you come with a very hierarchical mindset and you always say yes sir, thank you sir, and you dress very very formally as well, and then you might not be a good fit. So you have to kind of loosen it a bit and adapt to what is expected in a
That's even
different.
more importantly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's actually even more important even before you start writing your resume, because the change of mindset will be important when you appear for that interview, and how you come across in the interview is going to be totally different. Yes, resume got you till there. After that is going to be the attitude, how you think, how you'll work with the team and all of that. And not that you've not done it, you've done it, but the shift, the cultural shift that needs to happen has to happen during your transition. So might as well prepare yourself for the change that's coming, because it's not just the resume and the experience, it's going to be the cultural uh, shock, so to say.
Yes, and it's also coming from public sector to the corporate world, really being prepared what is going to happen, that it will be different, and just go with an open mind, that it's not one is right, the other is wrong, it's just different, and you have to change and adapt to, and see if it's something that you like as well.
That's
So
true. And the cultural shift is important, because tomorrow you will first you'll get the job, and then tomorrow you won't like it because you don't like the way things work. So it's important that you get that awareness today itself.
yeah, but it's possible, it's not impossible. Many people have done it, and it's just that you have to take that into account. So it's not only about the resume, but it's so much more doing changing your whole life, or the way you have been working and living as well. Yeah.
And it's not like we're trying to scare you. It's not about that. But the only thing is you have to be prepared. An open mindset is really important, and that's what it's all about.
Yes. And then we have Abby from Portugal. Interesting conversation so far. Pleasure meeting you again for the second time, Tiina. Thank you for being here. And we met during a lecture at his school, a masterclass. So let us go back to the fifth point that you wanted to bring today, Varsha.
Yes, drum rolls to my final one. So it's not about a resume per se, but I'll say, I've already mentioned that point though, that utilize your network and
Mm,
utilize LinkedIn for gathering all the information that you can around where you want to get, whether it's a transitioning military personnel or somebody who wants to change career. Understand from people around, people who are there in your network who can answer queries for you. Don't, pester people for finding a job for you, or, dropping your resume anywhere and everywhere that you can. No, ask people for guidance, seek guidance, and nobody's going to say that, I can't guide you for the XYZ reason. Everybody is, there on the platform to help each other. So ask meaningful questions in your network. And if you've got people who are there in the setup where you want to get, I'll say get a resume review, get your resume reviewed by them, and they'll be able to tell you what is it that you need to highlight that will be important for that particular job. So not just writing a resume is important, but also getting it reviewed from people who matter is going to be important. It's always better to get it reviewed from the other pair of eyes, because what you cannot see, the other person will be able to see and tell you.
Exactly. So it's really important not only rely on your own family, but also people and your friends, but also people from the industry. And most people in this world are really nice and kind, and they will be happy to do that if they know and what is your intention and where you come from. So building those relationships, and coming with how you can help them, and maybe if they are active on the platform, we always say that comment on their content. Anyone would be happy to have those conversations. People who are active on the platform, uh, go to the people who are the busiest if you want something to get done.
That's true, and you said that right. They don't just drop in and say that, can you review my resume or answer this question for me? Build a connection, write comments, see who are those people who are active on the platform. Write on their post, comment, and see, how do you interact. And that's how you and I also found each other, by commenting. Commenting is the best ever strategy. You'll find like minded people in your network who will be able to help you. So if you talk about something today, and tomorrow if you need something, there is some guidance that you need, the person will be happy to help you because you've already had a conversation.
Exactly. And that's the way to go about it. We have another question from Seb. Does your rank in the military service makes a difference in the kind of job you should apply outside of the service?
That's a good question, Seb. And what I'll say is that, look at the number of years that you've served in the military, because, of course, you cannot start from the scratch, but you'll have to find something that is at par. So, if I spent about 12 years in the military, I look at something that needs at least a decade of experience, because, you can't start low, is what I understand, because, wherever you start is going to be your day one in the corporate. So you start smart. So look at something that works at par, and that is, I say that self introspection and your strategy and your hard work to see that how does where does your experience apply, and what are the kind of roles that you would want to uh, turn around, that you'll have to strategize for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And also sometimes when it comes to ranking, and it, we're so used to having it's good for the ego, that you have this job title in different industry, and then you go to a different one, and then you suddenly lose all of that. So don't focus on that, but really on the what's the content of the job.
Just look at, match the experience. Don't try and match the rank. Match the experience that you have, that where does your experience in the military apply in the corporate sector. So you can't do something, if you have 12 years of service, you can't do something that only needs 5 years. You'll have to pair up that, because eventually, what you get the designation, so to say, in the corporates, you'll have to get to a designation also, because eventually it is also about the ego game. If I am a manager today, I can't take up something which is for an assistant manager. I either have to maintain the status quo, or at least go a level up. Is that how I understand it? So you always match your experience and see that where does your experience apply, not the rank. And I always recommend on LinkedIn, if you have a picture which has a uniform, you change that to corporate formals as to how you would want to appear for an interview. That's my favorite thing to say when I'm talking to veterans.
Yes. So when it comes to the profile picture, think how you would like to appear in front of your clients. Uh, don't take the nicest picture that you have that was taken during a wedding by a professional photographer, or when you are the slimmest in your uniform. That's not a purpose serving picture.
That's true.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having this conversation, and I hope that we have answered the questions, and that people who are in transition, that they know how to go about it and where to start.
Thank
Thank you
you for
so much.
having me on, Tina.
Yes. Bye bye.